Ooh.
Hey.
Hey.
It's the founders, and I'm not on the video, by the way, so
See?
it's all about the boys.
He's hidden somewhere. He's hidden.
Yeah.
Hidden
He's there in the
somewhere.
closet.
Voice.
Wow.
Yes.
Don't I look
Back
amazing?
rooms.
Don't I
It's
look
before
amazing?
you guys were like complaining, like, oh my god, looks so pale. Brr, brr, brr.
In the back rooms. My God.
Look back.
Are my shoulders somewhat aligned? I think so. I cannot see it.
Not really. I could maybe give a little fix. No worries. I got you, man.
No.
Are your shoulders aligned? Or, aligned with
Yeah.
what?
Haven't you seen the stream?
No, he doesn't know.
You
can
should
I
watch
see
the
the stream
stream.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
I
gonna
need
try
to. I need to put my face more into the camera.
Yeah.
I'm almost
this
okay.
works.
I can
Oh,
resize a
whoa.
bit. There we go. Yeah.
Shit, I like this.
Beautiful. Oh my god.
Okay, wait. How do I do
You
this?
see my
How
my
much is
sick
the delay?
my sick skin.
Wow,
Yeah,
this is
I'll adjust
fantastic.
Yeah.
for you, Jeroen. No worries. Got you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stay where I'm at, and you just put me on this.
Okay, this is also looking a bit awkward.
person.
I'll
Okay.
keep it small. I'll keep it small.
Awesome. If we would have known this, then we could have like coordinated the color.
I did.
I had no idea.
Okay, all right.
Why
so
the potato? Yeah, that's what I wonder
Yes.
too. Because people always keep making fun of me that I have like potato cam quality, but actually,
And the cam quality is
It's great.
okay.
I have to say,
Usually it's
Yoon looks the
usually off.
sharpest ever since
Yeah.
since like forever.
Yeah.
this is, I mean, this is just iPhone camera, so
Oh, that's good.
Oh, okay, well, it works really well then.
At
I'm
least you.
still rocking the old Logitech 6 years ago. HD.
the Logitech
1080.
PL 6000.
No,
Yeah,
I.
6,000. No.
Are you using the Logitech cam?
Yeah.
No, he's not
Oh,
doing it.
that's-
He's on his phone. He's on his phone. He's on his phone right now.
No, I'm on the Logitech.
It's on
now.
there.
No.
Oh, that's pretty good then, Calder. It's pretty good quality. But why don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, next time, Calder, you should use your vlog cam. Okay, let's get into
Yeah,
it.
that's too much work. That's,
Oh man.
yeah, and then it gets too hot, and then it has to turns
You
on.
can change the
blah,
settings,
blah.
but okay, yes. So today is we have the Entrepreneur Day is coming up, and that's like the 19th of November. But we thought let's do a stream in advance, then I'll make a video later on of it, cutting stuff, and make it all nice and dandy. And yeah, we're doing the podcast about how Wooting became Wooting as it is today. And of course, who is best to talk about it than those who actually started it and been from the start, from the beginning, then of course Erik, Calder and Jeroen. So, okay, let's start first off with, well, I guess explain what you guys a little bit do about yourselves, I guess. Who you are, what your background is, your hobbies and interests. Let's start off with... Oh,
Wait.
let's start off for the left. What?
From the start, or what I currently do as a hobby, or or
What you do now? So basically now, yeah. Okay, Erik, you first.
Okay, so this is okay. Hello,
You're in the
I'm Erik.
spotlight.
Hello, I'm Erik. I'm one of the co-founders of Wooting. This is also, I'm one of the co-founders of Wooting. These days, my job title is CCO, Chief Creative Officer. People also call me Chief Clown Officer and recently Chief Chaos Officer. I guess what I now do within Wooting, I sort of try to push a certain creative flow within Wooting and apply that at various topics, departments within Wooting. And the department I'm responsible over currently is marketing. So this whole stream is orchestrated by me. I came up with this idea.
Correct.
It's fantastic. It's the best. No, it's so this is what the marketing people did, and yeah, and that's what I do within Wooting. And my hobbies, I have a wife, a son, and a dog. And my hobbies are hiking in nature, reading, playing some video games. I don't really have that much time these days for video games. It's as soon as you get a kid, it's like your time is completely gone. But I try to champion some time with my Steam Deck. Yeah, and I've been with Wooting since the start. It's almost 10 years, right? Like 9.5 years now. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
9.
yeah, pretty good.
All right, Calder, it's you.
Hello. And I'm also one of the founders, and I'm the CEO at Wooting. I remember when we just started, I'm the business guy, Jeroen is the software guy, and Erik is the design guy. Or Jeroen is the engineer, I don't remember what we said again, but it was something in those lines. And I still do kind of that, the business parts, but now we have a lot more people, so my role has shifted into going from doing a lot of stuff to talking a lot of stuff with different people. But I'm still very involved with the finances. I'm still very involved with the product development. And I try to jump in and harmonize, create one whole team out of everyone as much as I can. And I need to share a bit more of my background, right? Yeah, so my study was international business and management studies. When I completed that, I went to the workforce for a year in Taiwan, and then I already started Wooting with Erik and Jeroen, basically. So that's everything we're doing right now is all self-taught, I would say, and as we go. So nothing very special there. And then when it comes to hobbies and interest, I have very, very few hobbies. I have my wife, but we're already married for 10 years.
No.
Yeah.
Damn, nice. You made sure
Longer
to
than
remember
Wooting.
the anniversary, right?
And we have a daughter, and she's 6. And in the same lines as Erik, as soon as she was born, the time for gaming really, really died off. It already started with Wooting, but then when she was born, it really killed. And then I would occasionally do it. Now, weirdly enough, I don't play anything really. At best, I've been playing some VR because I wanted to try new stuff. And I make coffee and sometimes try stuff, but I think my biggest hobby in general is just doing all the Wooting stuff. That's where I spend most of my time. It's also what I really enjoy. And the Wooting stuff is continuously challenging and continuously evolving, so it stays interesting also. And that is like a developing hobby. No need to change.
I mean, Mark said it like golf with friends, right? Now and then. Once in the blue moon.
Yeah.
All right.
Not even.
Yeah, not even. Okay, all right, thank you. And then we go to.
Wait, sorry, can I do a little shout out? If any publisher from Team 17 is listening in for some reason, please give me discount codes for Golf with Friends. I've purchased over 40 licenses. I probably need more in the future. Help me out. I saw you guys at Gamescom. You guys ignored me. Send help.
Huh?
Did they?
They ignored you?
I wasn't allowed to go into the. They had like a B2B booth, but I wasn't allowed to go in because I didn't have an appointment. I felt like I
man.
just needed. I
You
need,
should have printed like all your license keys. So you just kind of like.
Yeah, I'm the biggest spender.
Uh,
All right, Jeroen.
okay, so I'm Jeroen. Also, well, I mean, the reason I'm here is because I'm also one of the co-founders of Wooting. Job title is CTO, Chief Technical Officer, and that just means basically in charge of all the technical things that keep Wooting and the products running. I have a background in electrical engineering, so more in hardware, but actually nowadays I spend most of my time on software-related things, and that's just because like with the keyboard, I usually just say, okay, once you kind of have the hardware figured out and the production is running, it's mostly about making software, about making sure the firmware is better, is faster, is more stable, and then there's just a lot of stuff that goes down in the background when it comes to our website and the store and all the order processing and all that kind of arranging all that kind of stuff. That's where I spend most of my time. As a hobby, I like to go running. Just as a regular workout. I did half a marathon last weekend, which I was training towards for a while, and it was very nice. I had this idea to do a full marathon next year, so this
Jeez, like
Initially,
in a
I wanted to do kind of like
marathon,
half marathon, and then as part of like the training program, it's building up to a full one next year. But as what gaming was for Erik and Calder, that's like running for me now. Whereas like it is absolutely impossible to spend that much time training for a full marathon when I have a 1-year-old son, and that really started to conflict. So I'm actually just gonna stick with this distance for a while, and then kind of see where I could take it maybe later. And yeah, as other hobbies, I like to eat. I live in Vietnam. We like to just go on little trips, like little restaurants around the city. Today we went to this very, very good sticky rice spot. So if you're ever in Hanoi, then I heard echo now. Where does that come from?
Yeah.
I hear it
well.
too.
Okay,
Sander.
well. Hello, hello, Sander. I don't know if it's also echoing on stream.
Oh,
I don't think so, because people are not complaining about it, at least.
Can mute Sander for everyone.
Yes. Okay, hello. Can somebody hear me?
yeah, you're looping back through some.
Okay,
some
I've muted Sander for everybody.
Yeah,
Hopefully
yeah.
it didn't die.
Okay, well, is the stream still alive? Sounds
Yes.
good. Okay, well, okay, great. Then just to wrap up the hobby is, okay. So just eating food, coffee, going around the city, and yeah, spending time with the family, and that's pretty much my life right now.
Yeah, fantastic.
Is
And now
mic
because
is
you
called
muted
AirPods?
Sander.
No AirPods mic anymore. But I guess Sander must have dropped then, right?
I think
Is he still there?
or he tried to change something in his sound settings.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, Sander's now muted on Gather, so if he's talking, then we can't hear him anyway.
Yeah.
Let's I can take over. Let's go to the next topic. How do we meet? I think that's also a nice background thing. Who wants to do it? I think Jeroen can explain it well.
Me?
But yeah, but you need.
Huh?
I mean, I can
Why do
tell
we
my
meet the three
perspective.
of us? Yeah.
I mean, I can tell my perspective how we met.
Yeah, but there's phases, huh?
There's
a
phases,
piece
that's
of I think you and I know each other the longest, so maybe it's good from your perspective first.
Yeah. So when I was a small kid, I think 8 years old.
I know which one is coming.
I was 8 years old. I was in the classroom in groep 3 in the Netherlands. I don't know what it is, some preschool thing. And I was finally next to my best friend Roel. We were sitting next to each other somewhere, I think at the front, and it was like the best time of my life, right? Just sitting next to your best friend always, Roel. Loved it, fantastic time. That one morning I came into the school. I sit down in my place, and Roel wasn't allowed to sit next to me, so he had to sit all the way in the back. And I'm like, what's this, what's this, what's happening? My life is ruined. And then all of a sudden, a new kid came in, Calder. He just started at a school somewhere, not even at the start of the year, like somewhere mid-year or whatever. Like he just came in, and I already could feel it, what was happening, right? And I think Calder, even this is not even a joke. Calder had like a little hat with a propeller on it.
Yeah, with the colors, the
with the
separating
color,
color, the typical one. Yeah, I don't know why I had it.
and then it was like, okay, Colin needs to sit next to me because, new kid in the front, whatever. And then, Calder ruined my life. I was separated from my best friend. And,
Enter
and
new
that's it.
friend.
Yeah, and then I hated Calder. I despised him. And I think at some point, I don't know how we became friends, but Calder had a PlayStation in his home. That probably helped.
That helps, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
how
we
I
had
also
during,
met my best friends.
Yeah.
Nintendo 64.
And then Calder and I, we just became friends. And we used to play, maybe you can take it over, Calder.
I can bring it up till Guild Wars, and then Jeroen can take it from there. I think it's nice.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. So we when we play at home, we'd take break times at my home, and I would play one of these demo games on PlayStation. I think it's called G-Force or something.
G-Police.
G-Police. All right. Okay. Yeah. And we'd share the one controller, each holding one side of the controller, coordinating everything together. Yeah. And I don't
Very
think
cute.
after a while I moved away to a different city, and then we were not really in touch anymore.
No.
Until a while later, we, after some massive World of Warcraft playing from my side, Erik was playing Guild Wars. And then I joined into Guild Wars and was like, oh, Erik is playing Guild Wars. Okay. So we started playing together. And after a while, we decided, okay, this whole PvP stuff in Guild Wars is pretty dope. Let's do more of this. And we started a guild. And this is kind of where Jeroen came into play.
Right. So I actually because I had a friend in high school, Kevin. So he was part of your guild, and I kind of became friends with him. And through him, I also started to play Guild Wars, and then became part of the guild. And one thing very, very critical about this guild that you haven't brought up yet is that the guild name
I thought so.
is Wooting the Woods for the Woods. And then you had like a little 4-letter code, which was WOOT. And that's also where our company name comes from. Of course, like we didn't invent the name Wooting. Wooting is like this sort of old gamer term. WOOT, we owned it.
Wooting we
yeah.
actually invented. The woot
Ah, okay,
is not
that's
the,
true,
yeah.
The Woot is not new, but then so the guild name was Wooting the Woods for the Wood. I don't know who came up with that because I joined at a later stage.
Me and Connor, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, sick. And so then we started playing, and we played a shit ton actually. Like we did a lot of PvP games there, and just general playing. I don't know. We played for years, I think. And then
Guild battles
after
also.
that, I think we started to play. Calder always hated that game, I think. So that's when he and I kind of. But we kept touch a little bit over the years.
Yeah.
But then there was this sort of like one moment where so now we're like all the way ahead to like, okay, grow older, maybe play different games, different cities, different studies. And I was graduating, and I hated. I didn't hate. I was really struggling with the graduation, and not because of the spot it was, but because I just don't really function within normal companies. That's kind of like what I really struggled with. And I was always like, oh fuck, I want to do something for myself, you know. Don't really know what to do. What year is this? This is about 2015, and 2014, 2015.
Yep.
And I just get a call from Calder, and he's like out of the blue on Skype or something, like something crazy. And he's like, oh yeah, it's me, Calder from Guild Wars. Remember me? It's like, yeah, I remember. And then he brought up like, hey, I moved to Taiwan, and I found this technology, this analog keyboard technology. It was still the FlareTech switch back then. And he's like, okay, I want to make a keyboard, and I need somebody to kind of like help me do the technical stuff. And he saw a video of mine on Facebook where I kind of showed, this is all 2014, 2015, okay, on Facebook, where I showed this school project of us like making a video card with an FPGA or something. And then Calder was like, oh, if he does electronics, he could probably also make a keyboard. And that's when we kind of came together again. And also another detail, maybe to no surprise, is that Calder was also the guild leader at the time. So that's also how he naturally grew into the Wooting CEO, from Guild Wars guild leader to CEO.
But I do think that there's one thing, and we'll probably talk about it a little bit later in this episode, is I think you can already see like our personal qualities in a way in Guild Wars, right? Like Calder being the guild leader. I always have a feeling that either you set up the TeamSpeak server or like the forum or whatever, and I was just making
forum or something.
and I was just making guild games and like stupid images, right? And so it's it's quite interesting how all those skills sort of translated. And yeah, so if anybody has like a guild from World of Warcraft, whatever, start a company, it probably will work out, I guess.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe there's actually one thing in between, is that Erik, before calling with Jeroen, I was already in contact with Erik again. And at that time, so how did it even come to the point that it's like, oh, let's make this type of keyboard? is that when I just moved to Taiwan and I was working my first and only job after school, I was very much wanting to challenge myself, and the idea was that, okay, Erik, let's try to sell some gaming products online. So we started a small company and then figure out how to sell gaming products or gaming peripherals online on an online store. And I thought in the beginning, okay, just buy from a distributor and then sell it online, do a simple operation, learn the rope, learn how this works. And I got confronted with the first problem, my first challenge, which was I went into the distributor, asked for a quotation for all the products, and basically they were the exact same price as you could buy them from any website online as a consumer. And at best it was maybe €5 cheaper. And I got so pissed off because all this time I was under the assumption somehow that how the world works is everything's kind of fixed in stone. So, logically speaking, the prices I get should have some margin there. And I can just have some operation there and everything works. Not. And that frustration just grew over time. And then the idea was, okay, let's start importing products and let's take it to the next level. So then since I was in Taiwan, I went to Computex, and that's where I was essentially looking for products we could import and sell. But you had only these like stereotype gamer shit products, and I was so frustrated that I just couldn't get myself to want to sell any of it. I couldn't convince myself I would need to convince a customer to buy any of this. So then I saw the optical switch, the FlareTech optical switch, and I looked at how it worked, and I was like, wow, okay, you could get some kind of analog signal from this, but they were selling it as a digital switch. And you might not know this, but Zoe had a keyboard made with FlareTech switches. It's called the Celeritas 2 or something. Also uses FlareTech switches, and it's the digital version. And when I saw this and I told them, hey, is anybody planning, my question was like, is anybody planning to make an analog version keyboard with this switch? And they were like, you're the first one to ask about this, and nobody's planning to do any of that. And because I was like, I'll be the first to buy that keyboard to sell it. But then it was like, well, nobody's wanting to do this. And I was like, okay, well, fuck it. Can I just do it then? They didn't really want to, they were like, okay, but who the fuck are you?
Who are you? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So where are you getting
where are you getting the money from, and
Yeah.
what's your background?
Yeah, don't worry. I know a guy in the Netherlands who can do engineering.
Well, the funny thing is, I remember this time vividly because Carl is missing one piece in between because we couldn't sell products online before. Like, oh, let's make a blog, right? And then we just affiliate products and get rich that way. And at some point, I was in my internship, and Calder called me like, hey, there's this opportunity to make like a analog keyboard. It's so cool. These people don't even know what they have. It's gonna be gold. It's gonna be amazing. I'm like, no, Calder, this is insane. We can't even other people made experience making keyboards, right? Like all had like all planned out. Yeah, we just do like Kickstarter, and then we have the money, then we can purchase it, and blah blah blah. And that also Jeroen got really quickly involved because I think right after that call on Wednesday, he just called Jeroen like, hey,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Well, Erik is frozen.
Ja, mijn computer is dood aan het gaan.
What?
Wait, okay.
Ik weet
Do
niet.
people hear you on
Deze
stream?
aangetekend doen, dus ik denk dat ik even alles moet opnieuw starten. Oh, we're back. Hey guys, yes. Everything is freezing. I'm doing weird on my computer. I bounced against my
What's happening?
audio interface.
Yeah. Story is too
Okay, so-
heavy, hey?
I think
Oh,
the stream is fine. If the stream is fine, let's continue like it is, right? Let's.
It's like doing all weird and like lagging sometimes in between because
Yeah.
I touched my interface and it's going bonkers, and I have a feeling that I have to actually restart everything again for my computer to get it properly working again. But what we gonna do?
But is there anything wrong with the stream? Just continue like this, right?
This
Now it seems to be.
we
Okay.
can just continue, no?
Don't touch anything. Then we'll continue.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe you should move the
Sander's
potato
the
mic.
potato
Sander.
mic now. Don't touch anything, Sander. Just put your mouth closer to the mic.
Oh god, it's freezing again.
Oh, but stream is fine, right?
Stream-
Well, my OBS
Still looks
is
fine.
lagging and stuttering. I think that
Yeah.
other people also.
Stream. Everybody said stream is fine.
Yeah, stream is still fine.
Stream is fine. It's fine. No worries. No worries, Sander.
Okay, I'll leave it then.
Is it frozen now? Oh
Um,
no, yeah, it is. Yeah, should we restart
is?
the stream?
Okay,
or-
then restart. Let's get a quick break, everybody. We'll be back in 5.
Yes, we're back. Sorry.
Okay. Good.
Oh no.
Do it.
We
Let's
back,
check it.
boys.
Hey.
So, okay, I'm back. So
I'm back?
my whole audio interface it went bonkers. I have no clue why.
I cannot hear Sander. I think Sander's muted on Gather.
No, I can hear him.
Oh, you
Why
just
can
have
I
me
hear him?
muted, Mister. Yeah. There is no live stream
can't hear
that goes
someone.
perfectly well with Wooting. Always think of our live seems to be like, yeah, dropping or whatever, you know?
Let me restart Gather real quick.
Why is my audio not so loud on this? I even put a gain extra on it. It's weird. Hello.
Is it smooth again also?
Okay.
He should be.
Oh, now can I-
Hello,
now- now
hello,
can I
hello.
hear
Yeah,
Sander.
there we
Hello.
go. Now we're boosting my voice. Holy shit, I need to boost my voice a lot on this. Damn, okay. Yes, we're back. Hey.
We're back. Hey.
Yeah, you can hear me now better as it should be at least. Everything should be alright. We back off to the races. Jeroen is gone for a little bit because his kid just puked, so he has to make sure to get that arranged. And we back off. Okay, I mean, I guess you guys can just start off where you left off because I have no clue anymore because my audio was dropping out like continuously.
Oh right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because we do have a very professional prepared script here in front of us. Otherwise, it would never go so smooth. But I think we're actually pretty on track because how do we
Pretty
start
on point,
moving?
right?
That's
Still?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's where we're at, and I think that's actually where it started.
Yeah, maybe I just want to, from where we were, I want to just throw one thing in there, is that piece of being able to in the end be able to do something with the whole making the keyboard stuff, even though we had nothing in our background, also no finances to fund any of this, is just not, I think the biggest thing was just to not give up quickly and just keep trying. Because in the end, the only reason we got that meeting with the factory and they were interested to hear what we had to say is because I got rejected at first. And I just couldn't accept it. And then I'd done a lot of research already on analog keyboards and what was out there right now, which was nothing. There was only AimPad that was making prototypes and trying to create some analog input for games, but there was no keyboard out there at all. And when I got rejected, I was like, okay, well, then I'll just go to Ducky, which is a Taiwan company. So I made an appointment with Ducky, and then I just gave a sales pitch to Ducky without exactly telling them what I was selling. But it got them so curious that they called the factory because I knew they were making something with them. And they were like, how does this guy know we're making this thing with you guys? Which I just made a guess. And the second question was, what is this idea? And the factory called me, and they were like, okay, come present this idea you have that you want to do. And that was the meeting where they had a bunch of critical questions, like how are you going to like kind of learn what they can and cannot do, right? And it's like, how are you going to make this certain thing? I'm like, yeah, can figure that out. Yeah, that started the Jeroen call.
So it
Yeah.
was all based on a bluff, kind of. Then, in a way, then.
Yeah, I mean,
Jeez.
yeah. It's more like, you know, I think it's with a lot of stuff that we've done until so far. It's kind of like you have an idea of what you want, and as you go, just figure it out. And it will never be perfect. It will never be smooth. And but you have to keep going. Yeah. But if we were not this passionate or excited about all of this, then it would have already given up much earlier throughout the whole adventure that we've had until so far, because boy, we have experienced quite some shit.
Highs and lows, huh? I mean, so the next thing is, you know, how did the first year went? How did the first? Oh no, maybe this one. You know, the background and friends and family help.
I think that's
and,
an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think our friends and family definitely helped in certain ways, because after a while we also needed some money, right? And I think we got a loan from your parents, Calder, and from Jeroen's parents.
Yeah.
And an interesting fact is your father, he used to help us. He was always there for advice when it came to cash flow and cash flow predictions. And he also retired around the time, or he was already retired or at the point of retirement, right? And now he's still, you know, snooping through the orders, and he just sees some anomalies, whatever. And it's like, hey, you know, something's wrong here. Somebody check it out. And so even to this day, your father is still helping on a voluntary basis, which is fantastic, right? And he definitely also brought some experience. And we used his garage. And
to give some numbers, is that I loaned 20,000 euros, and Jeroen also loaned 20,000 euros. And that together with the Kickstarter money is what we used to, and for Kickstarter was about 135,000 euros.
yeah,
somewhere in that
something,
range.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you need to take away a bunch of payment fees still from Kickstarter, but that was basically our starting funds to get things rolling. Yeah. And then my dad, he was if he didn't retire. Did he retire by that time? He wasn't retired yet. Somewhere a few years down the road, he was retiring, and he's like he needed a new hobby basically. And he was already giving some advice here and there, and then he started to go through, I think it started with, I was building up cash flow budgets. And I got him involved to kind of like figure out, you know, how can I make better cash flow budgets? And that evolved into him actually spending a lot more time on creating a more elaborative cash flow template, from which I started building on top after a while. That was a big help, because especially with the projects that we're doing, when you do a Kickstarter, any kind of crowdfunding, you have a big pool of cash in the start, and you have absolutely no idea how long it might take, and your sales in between the launch and the delivery is very low. So you need to be very adamant on your cash. So that was a big thing. And then after a while, it got into him basically, as we had an order management system, he built out a little, let's say, database to check out anomalies of orders, and which helped out finding structural issues when it came to the order system. And that's something he's basically still doing to this day, having a very hard time to catch up.
I can imagine.
But still, giving good insights in things that are not going right with orders. So
Yeah, and of
that
course, we
is-
shouldn't forget Jeroen's parents as well. It's also our official business address is registered at their location in Ermelo, and yeah, we always they have like certain, I think in the dagverblijven there are like daycares and an office, and we used it multiple times. They also have like a nice bigger shed where we stored some keyboards, some products, and that we used for quite a while for logistics and shipping, and we
You're
shipped
doing
like the
full-blown
lacquer edition
logistics,
from
yeah.
there, and yeah.
We even did day-to-day logistics there for a while that my brother did.
Oh yeah.
It's like, so he did, I think for like half a year or a year, he
Yeah.
just did like our day-to-day logistics. Like if an order would come in for, I guess it was a Wooting 1 or Wooting 2 still at the time, or a wrist rest, I think we were only
Yeah.
selling those. He would like literally pack it in the barn and then it would get picked up.
That's
and,
quite
and
insane,
yeah,
yeah.
we still have like stuff stocked there to this day. From very old to even some like newer things, like some returns and stuff, they also come in, but it is really, really outgrowing that that one. Wow.
Yeah.
There was also this time when we, because like we always kind of struggled, especially in the Netherlands, or when it comes to, because we're not selling that many keyboards, and then we also had to ship them, and that was actually quite difficult. Because in the US, there are a lot of like companies that don't really have any problems with working with smaller, very small companies like ours. But in Europe or in the Netherlands or Europe, people are just like, oh, you're too small, fuck off, basically.
Yeah.
And that means they really have to just DIY a lot of stuff. And yeah, we did that one time at like Calder's parents' place, they just live in a regular neighborhood, and all of a sudden just big ass truck just comes in and just loads, dumps a few pallets of keyboards in the driveway.
We even
Or,
had
yeah,
a whole sweatshop there when we packed like those keyboards for a crowd. I can't remember if that
Yeah.
was like the Wooting 1 or Wooting 2, but it was quite insane. At some point, like a sister from Calder just visited randomly the day. It's like, oh, she just started helping, right? Also packing some keyboards. And
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
I think it was Wooting too.
yeah, I think it was Wooting 2, right? But definitely like
Yeah.
friends and family, especially family, the Calders and Jeroen's family, they were quite vital in this time. Otherwise, it would have been more difficult for us, right,
Definitely.
to solve these things and do this.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
You
And at the
guys
time
had
we
a
also
plan
had
B,
zero
right?
space,
Or-
right? Plan B?
Yeah, plan B. So let's say family and friends that doesn't work out maybe the way you want it to be, like that you have like a plan B as well. Like another option you could maybe do.
Yeah, just do it ourselves.
I mean, it's not so much about like in that time. It's not so necessarily about having a plan A or not even a B or C. It's more about you just kind of do what you need to survive.
Right.
Like
yeah.
there's not that much you can really plan because like the cash is so tight, everything is so small. You have very, very little options to do things. You just have to be very, very creative. And it's just like, okay, well, Jeroen's parents at the barn. Okay, well, we'll just ask if we can put the keyboards there. Then we'll just do it. It's not like you have like a plan A or B or something. It's more like, fuck, this needs to go out to people, and people are waiting. Well, let's just try to figure out something.
Yeah, and the thing is, we in the beginning we definitely were very strapped for cash, right? And I think what people it's also a business term, right? Cash flow, and a lot of businesses, starting businesses, fail on cash flow. Even successful businesses can fail on their cash flow management. And even if you have little cash but good cash flow management, that can succeed and drive a business forward. And I think in the beginning, what Calder made and his dad expertise, that definitely helped and gave insights. And it also was very anxious because it's like, hey, if you guys don't sell more keyboards, and in 2 months it's over. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There were definitely moments I really dreaded to do cash flow because I just didn't want to see what it would tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's always finding opportunities, right? Because even though the Kickstarter was a big hit and a success, and we really liked it, like 700, 800 people purchased, made a commitment to us, and from that point on, I think my school time was ending, my Stuffy was like gone. And I think after the Kickstarter, we also said like, okay, we can also start paying ourselves for all this hard work with like €1,000 per month. It's like, okay.
We started with €1,000 per month. Yeah.
€1,000 per
For
month.
quite a
yeah.
while.
God.
For the, I think for the first year, it's the only thing we paid ourselves. That's when we ate a lot of dry bread and
Yeah.
You all lived with your
But I mean,
parents
to us, it
then?
was also kind of upgrade, right? Because we were students and we get like 300 a month from the government.
that's true.
The easy stuff.
Yeah. So
And to be
it-
honest, for my life in Taiwan, it was I was together with my wife at the time also. We didn't need a lot to really get things going. So we were we didn't need a lot at the time also. That was good. And I think thankfully in the Netherlands, especially if the income is lower, there's at least more available to you subsidy wise.
Yeah.
You pay very low taxes
Yeah.
also.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, the healthcare
but-
subsidy and rent.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was, it was definitely not enough, but
No,
as
but,
in,
yeah,
but it was good enough. That
it was
the
good
thing.
enough. It was
It was good
definitely.
enough for what we were. Yeah, and I think the most important thing was every year we're kind of like you're kind of looking at, okay, what are we doing, and always feeling like the potential's so great. It's here, but we haven't just. What are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? What are we missing here? And then try to do it better every time. But knowing that the potential is really great, it was just a matter of time. Was what we repeat was a repeating mantra. It's just a matter of time. And I think I've said it many times. Every year was like, at some point, we're gonna hit this hockey stick moment.
Hockey stick moment, yeah.
Yeah. So it goes slowly, and then we hit the hockey stick moment, and woo, it's gonna fly up.
And that
'cause
all
that's the type
happened
of thing
since
that
you
we're
hired
building.
me.
So that happened
Yeah.
after the
What's your
release
phone
of the
number?
sixth itchy. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right, Sander.
Yeah, it's all summer.
That was in preparation, Sander, hiring you.
Ah,
So you
yeah.
could see the hockey stick moment coming.
But one thing that really helped me in those early days, and that was actually around the Kickstarter, was, oh my God, that actually people want to purchase it. Because at some point we were, I wouldn't say, well, this was pure luck, because in February of that year, in February of 2016, and we made like a video what you can do with an analog keyboard versus a normal keyboard. And we made like a very crappy, well, for that time it was a fantastic video, right? And you can see like I was playing The Witcher at 20 FPS because that was all my PC could handle while recording. And we were like comparing like, oh, this is what you can do with an analog keyboard, with a regular keyboard. And just some big YouTubers or gaming influence, like I think
Reddit.
Lyric and some other ones, they just showed it on stream, and also on Reddit it became quite popular. And we had like this landing page where people could leave their email address behind. And during that day we got like 3,000 or 3,500 email addresses alone, which was wow, fantastic. Like that really showed like, hey, there's like an interest here in this. And from that point onward, right, we just build up towards the Kickstarter. And after the Kickstarter is when we also opened, around the time of Kickstarter, we opened a Discord server. It was then the newest hot thing. And it was so great because there were like these people who liked our idea and supported our Kickstarter and had their own suggestions and ideas, right? That really gave me so much energy. It's like, hey, these are, besides not even customers, and from the start we call them community members and people who co-create this product with us with their own ideas and unique visions. That was fantastic.
Yeah. And some of those people are still around to this day.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at Wooting.
Indeed, some people who were there in the early days are now working for Wooting. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a good. Maybe that was also the fuel for that like feeling of we really have something here.
Yeah.
So we got the responses directly back from our users, and people were genuinely excited and actively had suggestions, and it felt like we can continue building here. Like there is no stopping of building. We could just continue building.
And one thing I'll never forget in the first year, I think it was even in the second year still, our overhead was of course zero, right? Our overhead cost, and nothing was allowed to cost any money. And I think I was doing a first year because I was still going to school to Utrecht sometime. And Jeroen was at this weightlift gym somewhere
Oh, yeah.
in Utrecht. He had like this
That's
gym, and maybe you can explain exactly what it was, Jeroen.
Yeah, it was just this like it's like Olympic weightlifting gym, like the more like the sport where they do like the snatch and clean and jerk. And I kind of got into it at one point, and I joined this gym, and it was really small. They had like six stations and like a few people that would just kind of live there every week. It was a really small community. And this guy, it was in this building that was going to be broken down in a few years, and this guy just got it for very cheap. And there was like a back room that had a few desks, and we could just use that as an office. But the building was so crappy that in the winter, we had this what do you call this? This like little electric stove.
Electric
That
stove.
we also used to fry egg, and we would just turn it on to kind of heat our hands to not get cold.
It was so warm because at the end of the day, I just had headaches from the dry air from your eyes because I was standing there at the desk, like holding our hands warm. And the worst part there was at the end of the day is when everybody came in to train, you just couldn't work because it was like adult people like, and boom. And every time when you hear somebody scream, it's like, oh my God, what's happening, right? But it's insane. Yeah. But that's where most of the utility V1 was made.
No, like it's also like these little, like circling back to that friends and family, where it's like these little people that kind of help along the way, because the guy that owned the gym, I can't think of his name right now. He was always just very nice and very interested, and we would just kind of talk about the business because he was also kind of trying to do his own thing with the gym, and he actually made it really big in Utrecht as well. He has like a pretty big and successful gym right now, which is really cool. And yeah, he was just like, yeah, you just use this. And I was like, do you want any money for it or anything? He's like, no, we don't use it anyway. So yeah, he's pretty chill about it.
And I think that's also it, right? There are just sometimes when you just talk with people, find opportunities and these things that, that just come on your path, you just use them, right? You don't think about it, you just use them. And I think during the time I just also probably took it for granted that we just had a working space there, which was actually quite nice. Good internet, right? And yeah, very interesting.
I think during all this time, I think the majority of the time, I was in Taiwan, and you guys were in the Netherlands. And but everybody would be, except for those moments like with the gym, where you would come together and work on things, but we've been working remote. Yeah. So throughout everything, we've pretty much always been working remote. There's been like very few periods in which we really came together in the office to work. There were some few periods between Erik and Jeroen, and between me and Jeroen. But it was very limited. Everything was remote.
And even the time when the three of us were together in the same country, it still didn't happen on a daily basis. It was mostly like, every bi-weekly, let's find a day. And sometimes people, they collaborate more often physically. And I think that's also the strength of a business, right? That everybody can hide behind their computer in a safe environment and do things. And
I mean, there's good and bad parts about it.
Yes.
Yeah. It definitely, I think it is really good when you just need to get shit done. It's not so good when you need to really come to decisions and planning of things. Yeah.
But also well-being of people. It's very difficult to assess the well-being of a person from a PC screen, right? Instead of you seeing them in real life, and that's also a downside.
Yeah, I do think since the three of us, we did it from the very start. Like we've always been, because nowadays companies talk about being like remote first or something, but for us that's just all we ever known, and I think we also got pretty good at it, and now it's such a big advantage where we can basically, I mean, not literally hire people anywhere, but people do get a lot of freedom in where they live. And so, for example, even if we hire somebody in Taiwan, Taiwan isn't a huge country, but people still live either in Taipei or maybe smaller towns or cities to the south. And for the Netherlands, it's the same. Like, yeah, some people live in Amersfoort, some people live in Groningen, like more towards the center or in the north. And then you have like some people that just like live in Canada. And it just kind of like, it really, I feel like we kind of have this strength where we can find more interesting people with different places instead of like being like limited to particular locations, and then you just kind of and then the pool of people you have is just like the people that live in those areas. And for us, that's not really the case. Of course, there's limitations to it, but still, there's a much wider group of people.
Yeah. I do think that with now having more people, the office part and getting together, there are some clear, like with product development, it's become very clear that it is a very important aspect to be able to have the physical item in front of you with the group, and then go through it, and go through it deeply. That is something that was always very challenging in the past, because you have to ship out samples to everyone and then also individually spend time figuring shit out. And then we had very little time to really overlap with each other to go focused deep into it. And that made development also very slow. So that was a huge disadvantage. But now, that's also now why with product development now, we increasingly more have people located in Taiwan, or everybody almost every, like except for the software part, let's say. We have almost everyone in Taiwan for product development. And then we don't all come to in one office, but we do have office spaces now. And we have in Taipei, we have an office space, for example, where we can all come together, and then we can just in any week on a given day, right, say, okay, this day all together, this sample, or just a full day, go over everything. Yeah.
If you go back to the last part of the first year, and this is we can be very brief on this. Any business entrepreneur assumptions that were proven wrong or correct? One thing that's I think also interesting about a business is we aren't entrepreneurs by the book. We don't have like we don't do entrepreneurship or running a business what you would normally do according to the book. Like Calder already mentioned at the start, we're mostly self-taught, and we just do things how we see them and how we think, hey, this makes sense. And sometimes we learn that our way isn't the good way, and then you look for alternatives, and then sometimes you find an example that's from the books, right, and you follow that. But most of the stuff we just do based on gut feeling, especially the first year. So I wouldn't say there aren't any entrepreneurial assumptions we had in the first year that we ran into.
I have two interesting ones though.
Okay.
Is sometimes when you see talk about entrepreneurship online, it's about this quote unquote hustle culture. You need to hustle, and find like little ways to earn money and then build it up from there. And I was thinking about this not too long ago, and I was like, well, how do I see myself then, right? Would I consider myself entrepreneurial or not? Because this like hustling, like, oh, when I was at school, I would trade cards and then sell it and then get a couple of dollars on the side, right? So I could buy candies and I could sell it for more. I would mow the lawns. Fuck no, I was gaming all the time. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? All those Amazon sellers, all those drop shippers, those are the hustlers. It's a different type of breed entrepreneur. And I feel that I can completely not relate to what they do. And I feel what we do and what we do is more focused on the ultimate, like we don't do it for the business part, let's say, of running this whole business and earning a profit and see how we can maximize the revenue and get more profit out of it. It's more like this is a function of the totality, which is basically enjoying this work and be able to create our own world and our own rules and our own environment. And I think that is the more core point for us, like entrepreneurs. That is like the
think so,
more
yeah.
important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because for me, it really started with like trying to do normal work and just like being so terribly unhappy about it that it's just like, I also felt, especially at the start, I just felt like I have no other choice. We just need to make our own stuff. Like that just felt like sort of a necessity to me. That's there's no way I can just kind of like get a job somewhere and feel like I kind of live like a happy or fulfilling life. Like I need to do something like this. Yeah, I think one other thing like with entrepreneur ways, and this is more like, it's not really entrepreneur, but more like the startup culture, especially at the time when we started, was really like you kind of get like your investments, your Series A, B, C, or whatever that's called, and then you kind of go for this big exit, and that's also what we often heard. It's like, oh, when are you gonna like pull money out, or what is your exit plan, or those kind of things, and we just never really thought about those things. And
I would even say that every time we're confronted with it, we're like, I would feel like, okay, shit, I'm not doing things right. Okay,
Should we get
is
an
the exit strategy?
investor?
Yeah, should we be
I don't
looking
know.
for investor? How does that work?
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah,
at
we've been going.
the Hogeschool Utrecht had like this department which was focused on startup and grow ups, scale ups, and that kind of things.
Yeah.
And we went there, and I went there one day just to check it out, and they were like, yeah, you can join our course, and do also things with us, and we can help you with your internship, right? Because I was doing my final internship together with Jeroen Boete. And one of the things was like, yeah, and one of the first things I asked, like, yeah, so what's your business plan and what's your exit plan? I was like, exit plan? Yeah, when you want to quit and sell it, right? I was like, well, I just want to make a business. I don't need to be rich, but if I can earn like a living from it and be my own boss,
That would be nice.
I would be nice, right? I would be happy. And they were like, no, you need business plan. And what if you grow
you need
big,
business
right?
plan.
And how would you think it's fast? Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Yeah.
Did you guys get the offers
I-
as well from other companies? Because I mean, some companies, of course, they get like an offer and then just sell out, and just be gone with it, go on a pension or whatever. But did you guys get any offers as well for Wooting as a business?
We've had-
yes
yeah.
and no. I mean, it's we've heard like stories of people that were interested, and sometimes like when you talk with particular people, like let's say at big events or something from other companies, you can kind of tell like, okay, they're kind of fishing for it. But it's also something that you also need to be open for as well. And so it's not like we ever were at the table and we were like, 10 million, should we do it? Or something like that. It's like, no. It's not like that. And that's also, I mean, we've never got so far in like any talks. But I think like for us, at least like for me, and I think I speak for all of us, is that one thing is for sure is that once you sell something like Wooting, it's gone. Like it's no longer yours. We've talked with people and sometimes you read like, oh yeah, you can still do your thing within like the bigger business or something. And there's a lot of like classic stories for these, how that just goes terribly wrong. And they maybe some party buys you and you can be like in charge of creative or something like that. Like it's they find some role, but then inevitably, like within a few years, there needs to be a return on that investment. And if it's not like within like the way you normally did it, then you just get absorbed or changed or whatever. And that just happens all the time. And that's also why we were never really interested in, because like we can have a good living now. Like it's not gonna make that much of a difference. And yeah, like when you sell, you're gonna lose it. That there's just no mistake there. And that's also something that always made us feel very uncomfortable with these kind of like incubators or just like investors. A lot of like investor like people in general. Like I remember this one time we went to this incubator in Utrecht, I think, and then the people that run it, I feel like you talk with them and they can kind of like already it kind of makes you feel like they can already envision like them running away with your idea. Like that they want to like sort of like share the credit in this like thing that you're building. Like it really feels like it always made me feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I also remember that one of those incubator meetings, there was this sort of pop-up presentation. I think you were also that day there, you were talking about Wooting or something, or pitching something to this group of investors. And one person was like, yeah, there's like this social media platform, right? And it looks kind of like Facebook, but it's not really the same. It connects people differently. And in 2025, we'll do a big exit, and we estimate a revenue of a sales volume of like 120 to 200 million. And afterwards, I talked to this guy because he was very young, like, oh, that's quite impressive, right? Can I look at your app? No, I have nothing, just an idea. It's like, okay, okay, sure, sell your ideas in 10 years for 200 million. Good luck with that.
This is, I think, it's a kind of like the awkward part sometimes, because we did actually get offers from, or not offers on the table, or we're going to buy you for this amount, but it always starts with these like, you're going to start with an introduction, get to know each other, blah blah. Yeah, we've had that, I think, at least 3 and maybe at least 3 times from different larger companies, which one of the first ones, it was like, okay, the way they introduced it was like, okay, let's make a keyboard together, because they were not in the keyboard industry, but they were in the gaming industry, and we're like, let's make a keyboard together, and then let's see, what was it? Well, I think they didn't say anything other than that. So let's talk to each other and let's make a keyboard together, and that would be really cool. And they could apply their design stuff, and we could apply our technology stuff, right? And yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. But I was thinking about it, I was talking with their CEO, and I realized in that talk, I just immediately cut to the chase. I said, okay, we make the keyboard now, and then it sells really well. What are you going to do? You know, you're going to make your own keyboard.
Yeah, of course.
So the only thing I've done now is share to you all my customers and created my new competitor. Why would I want to do that? Unless you're going to buy my company. Because that is your fastest way to make that keyboard. So at that point, it's like, okay, well, you know what? Not interested, because we, like what Jeroen was also saying, what I said earlier, is also that the whole reason why we do Wooting is because we want to create our own environment where we can do the things we want to do, and really enjoy the work. And as soon as somebody else comes to the table as an investor, and have serious money in this, there will be a day. They're going to ask the question.
Inevitable, yeah.
Yeah, it's inevitable. And your responsibility as then a CEO, CTO, CCO, right, now becomes, how are we going to get a bigger return on this investment? How are we going to make this investor get some type of return? You have to make and you need to report to that person also. And the bigger the cash is, right, the more obligation you have to that person. And it just changes the whole dynamic and reason for wanting to do something.
Yeah.
And you know what, is that if I would be that investor investing in another company, I would do the same thing. You know?
Beat the shit out of it, definitely.
I'm not working in that company. I just invested my money. I think it's a cool idea because I think it can get a greater return, and it's really great to see those people then grow and the company blah blah. But in the end, I still want to see something coming back. Yeah. So I think that is So it's we're very 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 fortunate that the 3 of us have been able to start the company and still run the company. And also are the only shareholders of the company. So we can really keep doing the whole Wooting thing. And the most essential part of keep doing the Wooting thing is that we do that with the 3 of us, with with creating our own environment and doing this basically for ourselves, right? We just really enjoy the whole adventure. Yeah.
I think it's also a nice segue to this next topic, right? What makes us a strong trio, or what are like the individual strengths? Because I do always believe that we have sort of a magical triangle when it comes to running this type of business. And how we once had like a very weird analogy about a train and who's run to the tracks.
I mean,
it was like the analogy was like a Calder laying down the rails, Jeroen making sure that the engine moves forward, and I make sure that the train looks pretty or something.
Yeah. I mean, I think like fundamentally, I've always seen it is that we're kind of lucky that we all three have like very different angles. Like there was always this idea like, oh, Calder's the business guy, I'm the engineer guy, and Erik is the creative guy. And what always really helped for me is that I can kind of feel like, oh, if there's anything like in that section, I can kind of rely on Erik. If there's anything in the business, I can kind of rely on Calder. And there's also no conflict. Like if there's, like of course, like we talk a lot, we argue a lot, obviously. But then when it really boils down to it, there's like fundamentally, there's like, okay, well, if it's this part of the business, then they probably know best, or at least like have like the right idea. And to me, like that, for me, it feels like there's a very big mutual trust in all three of us, but also this lack of overlap in what we're sort of like mainly responsible for and doing, which also avoids conflict. And there's just kind of like, so I think that's a big factor of why I feel like this triangle has kind of worked as it is. And another huge advantage of having three people is that you can make decisions by you only need to convince one other person, because then it's 2 out of 3. So you can, if you have one person, if you have one person, then it's really hard to stay motivated, right? Because like you need to do everything by yourself. You can't really talk about your struggles with people. This is at least like my experience in talking with other people that founded companies by themselves, where at one point they really struggle because it just gets very lonely and it gets quite difficult. And then when you're with 2 people, you can get stuck because like it's 50-50. So that becomes quite problematic. But with us, it's always like, okay, well, if 2 out of 3 agrees, then yeah, I guess that's just how we have to go.
Yeah. I also do think besides those hard skills and the trust, right? One thing that a lot of people don't, I guess, know about us is sort of our soft skills. So Jeroen is a realist, right? And whatever discussion there is, Jeroen is just a realist. And at some point, Jeroen is like, fuck it, it's not gonna work. It's, an unrealistic idea, or it's not physically not possible, right? And Calder, on the other hand, is the dreamer. He just looks ahead, dreams about things, and trying to spot opportunities and try to reach a certain point, right? And that already is like a nice balance between the realist and the dreamer. And my angle is always like the interest of the customers. Like, will the customers accept this decision that we're making? Will they riot? Will they be happy? Will they be pissed, right? And just thinking about looking at sort of the other side of the coin. So when we're talking about, for example, about pricing or whatever, I'm like, we need to make it as cheap as possible because that's what customers like. And Calder's like, oh, we need to make it as expensive as possible because we need to make a lot of money for the business. Everyone's like, that's not really feasible because of blah, 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 blah. And that's, it's quite,
I'll just go like, look at what competitor X sells their plus stuff at. How is that?
Like, how can they do it? $60. Why can we do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty fundamental, important. What helps us in almost every business decision, having these 3 different visions and then them coming together. And also sometimes a decision is being made that I really don't like, but then again I accept it because we made a certain decision, and I just move forward, and then I'm also happy with the decision we've made, right? And I think we all have those moments during decision making.
Sure.
And was there a moment that you guys had 2 guys agreeing? I'm stealing this from Mark, but one guy was so adamant about not having it that maybe things changed in the end anyway. You guys have moments like that?
Sometimes Calder can be this. Calder can sometimes, we can make a decision and a Calder doesn't like it. If he doesn't really fundamentally like it, he just doesn't sleep that night. He doesn't sleep the next day, and then he sort of goes to me, he sort of tries to convince me because I'm always like the weak point in this. He tries to wiggle me, and I'm like, yeah, maybe you're right, and then Calder's okay, I've got Erik in the pocket. I'm just gonna casually introduce it to Jeroen, and then a few weeks later, no, but in the meantime, we decided to do this and this because blah blah blah, and then we're all convinced. So yeah, Calder can be that snake, but overall, I think most of the time, once a decision is being made, we just stick with it.
Yeah. Well, I think that this is a big thing. I think it takes a certain personality to be able to work with me on this level also, because you know, after I can sometimes also be very brutal with my opinions and very upfront with things. And definitely, if I am really not seeing it, right, then I'm really letting you know I'm not seeing it, and I will need a day to think about it, so I can you know, let it sink in for a while and kind of understand the other viewpoint. But sometimes, yeah, if that really if that does, you know, then I just see it as a mission to kind of like show the other side to the other two, and I only need one.
But it's not like I have a list of examples where I go like, oh, this time Calder really fucked me over. Not like that. No. I think.
But it's also it's also never with the intention to kind of fuck over or something.
No,
And that's
exactly.
why
Yeah.
But this is also why Erik and Jeroen are both very, very open-minded. So it helps a lot with everything we discuss about. So it's, you know, you can talk about the same subject in many different ways. And I think all three of us then can kind of try to figure out the other viewpoint and kind of understand the decision-making that happens with the individual. Yeah, and it doesn't mean we always immediately agree on something, but it does mean that give it time, we're able to find a good middle road at all times. Yeah.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like that conflict is always very important, because if you have like things that are too aligned, like without any conflict, you're never gonna like. I feel like there always has to be some sort of like forces pulling at different directions to really get something good. Because if you only have like one force that pulls in one direction, it's just gonna be crap. Like no matter what it is, be it your business or your product or something like that, like you need to have different opinions that conflict with each other.
I do think another thing is we can be very hard to each other, but we don't take it personally, right? It's always like, oh, on a working level. And sometimes we make a decision where one of us don't agree with, right? And then a few months down the route down the line, you see like, hey, this was a stupid decision. And the other person will never say like, hey, you know, I told you so. It's like, no, you know, we made the decision. This is it. Now we have to solve it, right? And sure, you need to learn from things in hindsight and bring it towards the future, but don't be spiteful or nasty about it, right? Yeah.
In a way, it's pretty similar to a relationship.
Yeah.
We are, in a way, married to each other. So.
Oh my God. Don't tell my wife.
You guys got multiple rings on your fingers?
I mean, there's a big financial stake into this marriage in a similar way.
It's like the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So things you
Sander.
guys learned from running an international business, also from different perspectives. I mean, Calder mentioned as well, like the product team being closer together, that's working more neatly, seeing the actual product. But do you have like more examples you maybe think of?
Like running an international, or just, I mean, it kind of sounds like in general.
In
things that we've
general,
learned
that's also
while running
fine,
the
yeah.
business.
Yeah.
There's a lot of aspects. I have to, if I start from where we are right now, to loop back into what have you learned from your studies and your background, right? I feel like the bigger we're getting, the more applicable it is. Because when I studied, let's say, all these different models that you could use to analyze certain things and how you could organize things, it just all sounded like obvious mumbo jumbo shit. Like, why would you make a stupid chart out of this? It's fucking obvious. It just looks more cool now. That's it. You know, I called the consultancy diagram. I have my favorite one. I call it the jellyfish, but it's one I made up. Okay. Anyway, the point is that now I kind of better understand and see why it helps a lot, because it's actually just about communication and on a skill. If you need to communicate with a small group of people, it's relatively easy to quickly communicate a certain idea or a certain structure. But when you need to do that on scale, a big level, within an organization, it's way much more challenging. Way much more challenging. And that's why I see these things from my study now, and I'll come back. The other thing is bookkeeping. Bookkeeping and accountancy, I've gotten terribly much better at it during the whole time of Wooting. When it comes to when we're talking about running the business, right? That's a part that I never expected to go that far. And oh my God, basically, if we're just talking about in general, it's like every year with Wooting, it just evolves, you know?
It shifts as
And-
well, like what you focus on or what becomes important. Because I think at the start is more about, I always kind of compare it, whereas like at the start I feel like it was more about just keep going, like just keep pushing and then try to make something out of it. But now it's more, I feel like at the start it was just about spending more time on it and just really like trying to push harder and harder and harder.
Yeah.
And now like what becomes a lot more important is to think more about it. Like
Strategize a lot more.
Yeah, the strategy
Yeah.
is a lot more important, because at the start it's just like, yeah, we and very quickly Simon and Kevin as well also joined very early. It's just about like you just make everything.
Yeah.
Like if you want something, you just make it. And now if you want something, you kind of need to think about how to execute it in an effective way and how it fits kind of within the larger picture. And that's also really cool, because like you also have to learn different things, because I feel like at first for me was more about learning how to push hard and keep going. Like it sounds like it's just something you just do, but I feel like it's also something you can learn to kind of feel like you have more trust in what you do and your own capabilities, and that you can actually like just kind of make something and do something. And now it's more about learning all these little interpersonal things, or these like more strategic things. Like Calder has a business background, I don't. Like this is just kind of like you try to figure it out, and that's so it's also ever evolving in what becomes important.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
there's a lot also that we learn from each other over time.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot about software and electronics over time because Jeroen, you would always spend the time to explain things, so that we could also discuss about these topics together. So we could talk on a similar level.
Yeah,
And I
that
feel
was also
that
really needed.
yeah.
Yeah, there's
Sorry?
only a few things I've learned through the years of doing international business. PayPal is shit from a consumer perspective, from a business perspective. It's just,
PayPal is really shit.
it is a
That's true.
horrible tool. Yeah. No, I think gut feeling. We do a lot of things on gut feeling. Some decisions, we don't even back them up by data, but we just think like, oh, this feels okay, especially in the early days. And I think these days it's less gut feeling, but we still apply it to some degree, right? But also now I have a feeling that the stakes are way higher than in the early days. And the thing is, now, I guess we're now also quite comfortable, right, with our reserves that we have, so there isn't that much risk involved. But now we have 60 people personnel, right, that we need to pay every month, and people rely on us, and we rely on them, for them contributing to the business. And some people want to purchase houses or want to do this in their lives and blah blah blah. And I always have it in the back of my mind, right? If we make certain decisions that steers the ship the other way around, right, or ruins everything, or make like catastrophic decisions after decision, then it will affect all these people who work for us that you have personal relationships with and that you know on a personal level. And yeah, that's something that was not present in the early days, right? Because it was just the three of us, and after a while was Simon and Kevin. And I always had a feeling that the five of us, we were just, and Mark as well, we knew what was going on. If it failed, it was like, fuck it, right? We just go on with our lives. But now people are just dependent on Wooting, and that's that's a certain burden I didn't knew existed once we started this company.
I also haven't thought about it that way, Erik. Now that's
This is what it keeps me up at night. Yeah, I mean it's not that we had the disaster, whatever, but it always is. It lingers somewhere, right? With decisions you make, and yeah.
But
I
that's
think I just feel the responsibility more for just trying to create like a good environment for people as well.
As well.
Whereas like people can kind of like, because like I feel like we have quite a good time doing what we do, and I kind of want to try to translate that in some way and make people feel like, hey, I'm actually creating something cool, creating something that people use. But I haven't really thought about the financial part like that.
Well, so one thing that really stressed me out a couple of weeks ago, we used like a payment provider or like an online banking thing, and for some reason we were like blocked. On the day I had to do the payroll, and that means that half of the company I couldn't get paid. I couldn't pay through that service, right? And I had to use a different thing. I was on the phone shouting at them like, "What the fuck, supervisor now because you need to pay, blah blah," and those things really stressed me out. And afterwards, you're like, "Oh, I got my money a day later." I don't care that much, right? But for me, it was really painful in the moment and also very stressful, making sure that people get paid on time. And
I think this is the part that also talking about a lot of the things learning at school, the business part starts to make more, is starting to get increasingly more applicable.
Yeah.
So you do need to make the decision-making the decision-making process kind of changes. And I think what is also a big thing is that the things that happen between the three of us kind of needs to translate now towards a much bigger group of people. So it's kind of like, how do you carry over a majority of this decision making and thinking to everybody else? How do you communicate that, and how do you get them? How do you indoctrinate them basically into this mindset, right? And that is one of those big shifts in how it was and how it is now. And every year, it's shifted very fast over the last 4 years, for the last 3 years especially. So at a certain scale, you can still run on gut feelings and quicker decision making. But now it's really getting to a point where it's like, okay, more responsibility, much longer term thinking, and very much trying to build up the right culture so that it becomes increasingly less dependent on one of us, let's say. Yeah.
And
So that we can exit for $100 million or $200 million.
So there is an exit strategy that is the bridge to the next. Did you guys ever consider giving up or quitting Wooting?
Oh. There was one moment. It was not wanting to quit Wooting. It was like, okay, we kind of need to draw a line now. Otherwise, we're going to do this and perpetually do this, which was right before the Kickstarter, before the 6HE campaign, Founders campaign. We're working towards the 6HE and that Founders campaign, and it was like, look, if we don't have a serious bump in growth with the 6HE, like if this doesn't succeed, then we should seriously consider to stop, because we are growing We are growing older faster than the company is growing in what it can provide to us in our phases in life now. If the 6HE and the 6HE to us was also like this. Look, we've really digged through everything, and this has to be, like, we really felt like this is it. This is like the best we've made, and has everything that we've worked towards inside. And if this doesn't work, then we simply don't understand what the fuck, how does this work? But looks like that didn't happen, thankfully.
Well, yeah,
That was definitely the
I
final
remember
answer.
the moment. At first, it felt tough, right? Because we said like, hey, we want to reach certain targets also for personal thing, right? And this is something Jeroen really pushed, which was great. And it's also Jeroen's vision pushing in, where I really didn't care how much money I got every month, as long as I could pay my bills and sort of live. But Jeroen was like, yeah, I need to move forward in my life. We need to have this and blah blah. We need at a bare minimum, and it's good to set a goal 1 year from now to reach that point. And if we don't reach it, let's reconsider if we have what we're actually doing in the business, right? And at first I felt like, that's so painful, that's so sucky, because that means we're sort of giving up. But on the other hand, it also really motivated. I guess in the end, it motivated even more to pursue that goal and push forward to that.
And I think if you would have not come with it, I would have kept going. You need a case.
Yeah, right. But it was very good.
But it was a very critical
point.
point. Yeah, because it is kind of facing the reality also.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember for me, like, it was personal, right? Like, it was something me and my wife discussed, where it's like, okay, and this is all very open, right? Like, this is just like, okay, this is what we're doing in our life, and we're not running that much with the Wooting stuff, and that was fine, but we didn't want to do that forever. And so it's like, okay, how much time should we give it, and what's kind of like, and we just, I mean, pretty arbitrary, just set a goal at one point where it's like, okay, I think at some point we said, like, okay, in 2 years, we want to be here. And that means that in about a year, Wooting needs to be here, otherwise we're not going to make it. And I think that was like, that was kind of like the base of that idea, because, and otherwise if Wooting wouldn't be there at this case, I felt like we just had to find a different way or do Wooting different, and then we'd still have some time. And I remember when I first introduced that idea to Erik, because and then he was like shocked. He was like, no, we're never gonna make it. And but interesting enough, that conversation I had with my wife back then, I also remember we were sitting at the dinner table, and she was like, and I told her, like, yeah, I do feel good about this Wooting thing. I think we have a good chance. And she was like, how much chance do we have that we succeed? I was like, maybe 50%. She was so shocked that I was so optimistic, and she was like, 50%. But I feel like that was always kind of the idea with the business, where it's like, most people fail, like that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like I just didn't want to get stuck in it, even though like I love doing it, I still do. I would just also feel kind of sad that you just kind of keep going and it doesn't really go anywhere. Like it doesn't really hit its stride. Like there needs to be something. And then with the 6HC, I feel like now looking back, it also really proved that there can be a moment where it's like, there can be a moment where things do come together, and then all of a sudden everything changes. Yeah. Like people kind of talk about that sometimes, and that just kind of happened.
Yeah.
There's actually, taking the question more literally, there's actually a time when I quit for a day.
That's true. Yeah, Jeroen quit it. Yeah,
Yes,
Jeroen quit.
in like the first few months or something. Like there was I think we were still like working on this, and I was really stressed because I just finished the graduation or something, and
I think you were also studying your master, right? Or
you were working on your masters that time.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what triggered it, but at the time I was just really stressed, and then I was like, there was something that I just felt like we couldn't do, and it was really, like, looking back, it was a very small thing, in like the larger scheme of things, but at the time I felt like, no, there's no fucking way we can do this, and then I was like, oh, I'll just quit. And then I remember Calder called me, and he was like, he was so shocked that I was just like, like, what happened? And then
the only thing went that through my head, because it was still the early days, and you said, yeah, I really want to continue in school, and I can't combine. I felt like, okay, that's nice, being honest and focus on school. And in the back of my mind was like, yeah, I mean, Jeroen, we found just with one call how difficult can it be to find an electrical engineer. I was like, okay, sure, Carl was like, no fucking way, it's not gonna happen.
No.
Jeroen, now's the time. you should do it now, quit school, try a year, then you can continue your master. But now it's time to go.
No,
Wait, did you finish your master's?
no, I quit. No, I did it together for a while, and then I basically choose Wooting as priority when the Kickstarter went really well. Like
when you were in Taiwan, and from my perspective, it felt to me like we launched the Kickstarter. You were in Taiwan. The Kickstarter was running at the time, and that was a moment, like a bit of epiphany moment. Like okay, I should.
go
You were
on, yeah.
you were like, I should go into this 100%.
Yeah.
Because it felt also much different being in the zone of where stuff was happening. Let's say, it felt much more alive. I think, yeah.
But I think that starting time is also so weird, where it's like, Wooting is just this idea. There's nothing, and then you just kind of have to just keep going. It's really strange. It's like when you look at it now, and Wooting feels like, okay, Wooting is just a thing, and they made rapid trigger, and they make those rapid trigger keywords, right? And it's like, that didn't used to be there. There was just nothing, and then it's very strange to just kind of fully commit to it and believing it. That took some time for me, I think.
I mean, how does it feel like for you guys when you're on events and all the people are just approaching you, compared to how it used to be before? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we know before, we would always have to introduce ourselves, and now people go hey, Wooting. It's just, it's really strange, but it's also a lot of fun.
I remember the first time I had a little office in Arnhem because I couldn't work from my own home. It was also a very crappy office. And I walked out to get a sandwich, and then a group of people, older, I wouldn't say older man, but this guy was at least mid-30s, maybe close to 40. They were walking by and then hey, Erik, you made a nice keyboard. I'm like, what? How do you know me? And I'm like, yeah, I got the lacquer edition. I purchased it. I couldn't wait for the pre-order, and he was driving to a business client at some point, and he stopped next to the highway, opened his laptop, 5 minutes before the drop went live, the lacquer edition, and he purchased it. And he was also living in Arnhem, and he was following us on the stream. I was like, oh my God, somebody recognized me up the street. It was such a weird feeling. That was the first time. Yeah. And since that time, it's always chasing the dragon that people recognize me on the street, but never happened again.
I think it never happened again, right? I mean, if you go to an event like Computex or something, of course, but you walk around in the shirt and people recognize it. But then I feel like that what happened to you, that's kind of next level.
Yeah, it was also at Gamescom this year. We were walking there with a few people with Wooting shirts, and sometimes you go to a vendor, right, or whatever. It's like, oh, you're from Wooting, yeah, wow. And then they're super respectful to you and want to present everything to you. It's and I don't know, you probably know more about your product than I do, right? But you're sort of looking at me like I'm whatever holy grail or whatever out there. That's
Yeah. I don't go outside enough to be recognized anyway.
Just 24/7 working.
Being in Taiwan, the chances are much smaller. But I actually, when I was in the Netherlands and we were at the airport waiting for others to arrive, there was a guy that just stood next to me and was like, "Hey, Calder," and I was like, at first I was like, "Wait, are you the guy I'm waiting for? Because you look different." But that happened to be somebody that just arrived back from Turkey, and he recognized me and wanted to say hello. We made a selfie.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I remember we also went to, when we were at Computex, we also went to this restaurant, this barbecue restaurant, or tappanyaki restaurant. And then one of the waiters, he was also a Wooting fan. And he got a picture with the whole team that was there. So 15 Wooting people on a picture with him. That was a lot of fun. Wow.
Oh, that was in Taiwan, right?
It was in Taiwan,
Yeah. Remember that one? Yeah.
It was Computex time, right?
Yeah.
Computex time, yeah.
Okay, what do you guys believe has been the biggest and best impact on the industry?
Oh, I would want to throw this one in there is obviously Rapid Trigger has a huge impact, but that is just more like it sells well. It makes a clear difference, so everybody starts copying it. But I think the bigger thing is we're now pushing this concept through where software of the keyboard is vital to the usability of the keyboard. Like it's a big selling point, whereas especially the big brands and the software they provided, it like this clunky piece of shit, and only one version with just a few bug fixes, and you would get nothing. And now you see Razer and SteelSeries. Oh, we always update the software of keyboards. You have the latest and new stuff, blah blah blah. No way, fucking way, dude. You never did this. I think that is this mindset. That I think that impact is even greater than just saying Rapid Trigger. So yes, so web-based UI and it's all part of that piece of like, yeah, you know what, the software you use of this keyboard actually matters, because it really makes it's not just about the function, it's also just wanting to use this thing and make a change, opening that software. Oh my god, the software's crap, then you just don't even want to open it up.
No.
I do think also one more recently impact thing was with this whole SnapTap thing, right? And Rappy Snappy is when we introduced it, we made it compatible with all our keyboards, right? Just even for the Wooting one. And I think when we started out, it was either SteelSeries only had it for the latest keyboards, or Razer only had it. I think it was Razer only had it for like this
Razer,
year's thing. And after we introduced it, 2 or 3 weeks later, we're like, yo, hey, we also support like our 4-year-old keyboards. And I do think that was, for me, an epiphany. And I felt like,
7,
wow.
Erik. Wooting 1, 2017. 7-year-old.
Yeah.
Yes, so sure, we supported more, right? But it was good to see that a big company also made it more backwards compatible with something they didn't initially want to do. And I don't know if they always had it planned for like, oh, let's first people purchase like the latest version, and then we all support the older version. But I do have a feeling that we initialized this towards them, and giving this more longevity to consumer products, that's fantastic, right? And that's why we also, a little bit commercial 4-year warranty, right? And what we always hope that our products last a lifetime as long as possible and support them. And it's nice to see that other companies are also applying this towards their keyboard and the technology. And hopefully we had an impact here, right? And made a new standard, let's say, for the gaming industry.
Yeah, because for a while the thing to do was to just introduce something new that is just a software change.
Yeah.
Which is also that really pissed off a lot of people with like Logitech with their announcement earlier this year, where they had this big announcement and they just introduced like remapping your keys. It's like, well, you can do that on all your keyboards, and not specific to this product, right? But they feel like they kind of need to have some sort of like defining thing for that product that makes it better, but it's just a software update. That just feels really lame. I hope people, I think like more and more people understand that that's just poke through that. But for a while, that was really the standard.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say that R&D software implementation should come free, right? Because it takes a lot of time and effort, and you're not getting any return on your older customers, right? Directly, like maybe indirectly, because they like you as a company, they purchase like the next keyboard also with you, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
So I get it for big companies, it's a concern, right? It's like, hey, we now have this new software thing, let's bundle it with this exact same model, call it V2, do something else differently, and boom, we're done, right? So I definitely get that perspective, but yeah, we always see, oh, software is free. That's how we see it routing. So no biggie, Jeroen can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say anything about this because there was this interview with the Logitech, new Logitech CEO, I think, that went viral a few months ago. That was exactly about this topic, and I've kind of refrained myself from sharing my opinion about these kind of things. Because it can just get taken out of context so easily.
Yeah.
But in general, I do share the concern where it's like, we spent so much fucking time on making really good software and like making a really good firmware, really good utility. But we, as a business, we sell keyboards, and we don't sell software. And so I kind of understand like where they're coming from that way, but it's also just, you just got to make sure you just make good stuff, and that people want it. So in a way, like the software, it kind of, it's almost more that it's marketing than it is like the thing that you sell as your business.
Yeah.
Just because like people start to like it, people start to use it because of it, and if you look like any kind of like video Wooting stuff is like, okay, well the software is great. No, that's really good.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's
I
also
do
like
think
yeah.
So I just wanted to say, I do think there's one good argument now, looking back with the 6-stage specifically also, is it's now, we're at the end of 2024. We shipped the 6-stage start of 2022, or we launched it like
Yeah,
2021, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And then,
End of
yeah.
the year,
Yeah.
September 2021.
Yeah. And we shipped it in
Yeah.
June, July 2022. Yeah.
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 Okay, now between that time, I think in 2023, we saw the first, let's say, maybe competitor Chinese boards, right? And now go count how many iterations of that keyboard has come to the market. From then till now, it's a shit ton.
Yeah.
And for us, still the same keyboard. And if we look at the moment we released it versus the moment where we are right now, when it comes to the firmware development, it's actually also become a better keyboard.
Yeah, it is.
So it has
Yeah,
actually
we have now,
also,
it's much better.
yeah, it has contributed to the relevancy of the product, increased its longevity also for keeping it on the market and selling it.
Yeah.
And not needing to release a new version every whatever time, just to keep
That's
bumping
true.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in general, it's also like this approach for doing the software and using utility is also, it was initially born out of a frustration with just how crap it was.
Yeah.
and that you would just kind of have these new features that were just kind of software locked. Like it's just so stupid. And so it's also kind of like this, we just kind of felt like, oh, this is just the right thing to do. And we just kind of kept that up, and it has also worked out well. There's actually one different thing about like the impact that is much smaller and maybe not that interesting for most people is that I can tell with like, especially with some smaller, newer companies that also do peripherals like keyboards or mouse, that they also take like a much more open and sharing approach to their business.
Mm-hmm.
Like they do a lot of live streams, they make like a lot of update videos, even to the point that some companies also made like a factory vlog, for example. And this is something that we've done for a long time as well. Like with the Wooting one, we did the factory vlogs. I still think are fantastic. Like probably worth, I don't know if they still hold up, but then I think it's still probably
They're
really cool to see. And we did it again for this for the ATHC, and we even did the film, which was also a lot of fun. But I think this sort of like approach of just sharing a lot, just making a lot of videos, do live streams like we do now. It's also really fun, at least for me, to see that other companies are also starting to do it more, because it also makes it more fun to follow them and what they do. Like you can also learn about, and especially for our side, it's also really fun to kind of see what little challenges they run into, because a lot of stuff that we run into is maybe not necessarily that unique. There can also be a lot of overlap. So I think that's also something that I think is that I feel like there's also some influence there. That's a lot of fun to see.
Yeah.
What's next for Wooting?
Sell it to the
Well.
highest bidder.
Damn it! Don't sell it, man. And I need to work with different people in the company.
Yeah. I have to say, it is always the dynamic of the business has changed a bit. So if we look at when we did the Lekker edition development, and at that time we're thinking about this future rapid trigger, and I think we even implemented the first proof of concept of Rapid Trigger in the Lekker Edition prototype. And when testing it, it was like, oh yeah, it does stop earlier, but not knowing how big the impact could be. And at that time we were thinking about, okay, should we be patenting this, for example? And it was like, no, we have no experience, no cash, no time. We better invest that cash into the actual product development. So we didn't take that route at that time. And I think it's been, looking back at that, I think that contributes a lot now to, like, it's a good thing that that's also been the case, because it does contribute to the fact that now we have a lot of analog keyboards on the market. And that was initially also what that was our mission also, to make this an analog, to make analog keyboards industry standard. And one of the thoughts behind it was also that you get these big companies, it's a very slow movement into getting into this game. What I have never imagined, however, is that that there would be Chinese manufacturers that would be so fast into this with the amount of iterations. And what I'm very disappointed to see is that they are doing what they always do, and which is, there's an opportunity, they enter into that opportunity, and then it's just a race to the bottom with each other. Yeah. So, and that race to the bottom is basically, it can destroy and ruin the whole market, potentially. And I feel that it also makes it more, it makes it more stressful for us thinking about, it makes it more stressful for us about thinking about, okay, how are analog keyboards now perceived? And what does that mean for let's say the long-term development of these type of keyboards? And if the perception becomes, well, this is like a cheap keyboard, these analog keyboards, right? Then it completely discredits the amount of time that needs to be spent on the software. And the software that's used by all these other companies is just from an off-the-shelf manufacturer, and all the same. So I wanted to introduce that a bit because I feel that makes it very, that makes it feel very challenging, like what can we do in the future? But there's this one defining difference between what we are doing and what they are doing. And that is that we are continuously thinking about how can we do this better, but not in the way that they are doing it. The way they are doing it is, how can we get the smallest number? How can we get the better, hardware specs in comparison to the other specs, right? They're still thinking within the same fucking box they've always been thinking, and destroying each other. And that's the part I think where we're looking at things a bit different. We're thinking about, okay, how can we solve this problem or meet this demand from customer in our way? And we are working on something that is doing that. And we've been working on it for is it like a year and a half now or longer?
Like I think 2, yeah.
Yeah. And we are not it's a lot of trial and error. Let's put it that way. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a relatively simple idea, but it's a lot of trial and error. And this is, and yeah, we can't share what it exactly is, but this is kind of the thing which is as we go, we continuously try to do this, and when we come with it, we've tried to solve a problem and create an impact, and it's going to get copied as soon as we introduce it. For sure, it's going to get copied when we introduce it.
Hopefully it will take competitors at least a year, right? With the time and effort we've put into it. At least.
Well, this is the problem. So you have this factory with 30 R&D people, a shit ton of cash, and all the opportunity to sell to tens of different clients to make thousands of these things, right? Tens of thousands of these, hundreds of thousands of these things, right? So you have all the motivation to copy this within a very short amount of time. So
yeah, that's true.
And it's what makes it very challenging is the exploration and the trying out and trying to actually try to solve a problem and not just trying to make the next gimmick, you know. And I think we have the right mindset, and we're increasingly trying to get more of the right people so that we can do this more rapidly. So what's next
People
for
and
Wooting?
process.
Sorry?
The people and process. To,
People and process. Yeah.
That's key, because I also think that aligns more with this episode of the podcast, is what's next. It's growing Wooting internally, but also nurturing it, right? Because we've been growing Wooting with a lot of personnel, new systems, new way of doing things in the last year. It grows even more rapidly than we would have imagined earlier this year, and I assume next year, we also have another growth in, different aspects within the business, but it's like a logistics person, right? E-commerce manager, whatever role you can name within a company. Those are all things we need to improve upon, right? Get more people on, and I think Calder now wears, a lot of different coats, a lot of different responsibilities, and is also like, hey, who can take over this task from Calder so he can focus more on this, for example, and or maybe even closer to me. Like I was doing all HR things for the last 2 years, 2.5 years, whatever, and then we hired Adriana, who started with us 3-4 months ago, and that's a godsend because she's taken over so much of all HR things from me, and that gives me more freedom to focus on what I can do best within the company. Yeah. And there's also different key people within the company who sometimes their strengths are now being covered with different tasks. How can we open them up again, right? And pull some tasks away from them and give them to somebody else, or create a whole new role within Wooting. Yeah.
There's probably some question that probably people will ask is like, is there also a point that you guys might think about making different kind of products besides keyboards?
You make wish lists.
Yeah.
God damn it.
we tried to make try to make a mouse pad.
Yeah, we've tried to make. Yeah. This
Six
is kind of the bane. This is kind of our Achilles heel also, which is if we try to make something, we're really trying to make it in that we can actually contribute to the product can actually contribute to the whole category as a whole. If it cannot do that, and it's just a mixture of what's already out there, then it's just not interesting for us. It's very simple. We could have just made a mouse, and just take whatever people find the best, slap the Wooting logo on it, and it would have probably, I don't know, increased revenue by at least 30% or something. But it's just
30?
not. At least, yeah.
How do we make the mouse, man? What the fuck? What we
So
do?
everybody's gonna,
us. I
because the
provide
big
the logo.
selling point is going to be, you get the Wooting keyboard with the Wooting mouse, you open the utility, you can change everything immediately, done, right?
Headset? Wooting headset?
Yeah.
Another 30% Calder?
Wooting monitor. I mean monitors. I mean that's you can sell monitors for like $800 these days. So that's.
I mean, they're OLED though. I love myself a new OLED screen, more OLED screens.
Well, there you
Please make, yes. I make videos about them.
Well,
No, but that's the point, Calder. We want to
yeah.
push some
Well, the thing
innovation
is
into
that
it, and
there's also the other thing is, so we want to be able to contribute, and if we're not able to contribute, it becomes less interesting, and then you get this other problem, which is if we do something like a mouse now, we lose focus on our primary product, which is analog keyboards, and we are scratching the surface when it comes to this. There's so much, as for the company as a whole, there's so much growth potential just for this segment of the industry. Oh. And there's so many things that we can do so much better as a business as a whole. There's so much things that we can still contribute for keyboards as a whole. It's like there's no there's no, yeah, we're not close to that piece of saturation. So why lose the focus? So we'd rather just focus on the keywords and do that as best as we can. And once we get to a point where either we're big enough to run more things in parallel, or we've saturated this as far as we could, and it is the time, we're not going to be just jumping into a different category, just like that. Yeah.
I do think this SnapTap example is still a very good example, right? I mean, sure, I think earlier this year or early last year already, like a year ago, we were talking. We didn't call it SnapTap back then, or Rappy Snappy, or Rappy Snappy internally. Now, how do we call it? Rappy Snappers and
Snappy Tappy.
Snappy Tappy, right? We didn't. We just called it SOCD, and Simon had like concepts for SOCD cleaning. I thought like, okay, this is sure, right? We don't do anything with it, but we understood the concept. And then Razer came with SnapTap this summer. We already thought about it earlier and thought like, yeah, this was just kind of cheating, not really nice. Nobody's going to accept it. But even though people accepted it, right? Our software infrastructure and our firmware, how it's built, it's just so modular that Simon, it took him like 2 hours to make a proof of concept in the utility. Then was like, okay, let's slap in some UI elements, and within a few days we had SOCD with even a better implementation than SnapTap. But that's, it's subjectively, right? There were some things wrong with it or whatever that we fixed. That's fine, right? And that shows us if we were a bigger company, right, with multiple divisions where we had like mice did blah blah blah. I don't even think we could have shifted this quickly and jumped onto it, right? And yeah.
So retaining that focus.
Yeah. But there's always this sort of idea, especially if you run a business that there's all these opportunities that you need to do. But very often, like we've kind of learned that they're also distraction, and that we just don't listen to that anymore because that has failed miserably in the past. And so that's I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah. But mouse pads though.
We're gonna do mouse pads again? We're gonna do it? What?
I mean, if we can find something cool, just like how it was last time. Like it was a cool idea, it just didn't really work. It's a shame. But
Right.
it is.
Close. And there are just fantastic mousepad companies out there, right? Artisan, Wallhack, all excellent, right? And I mean, performance-wise, will be difficult for us to even compete with it with our own solution. And the same goes for mice, right? There are these fantastic Pixar sensors and stuff, and they're just the best. And I guess the only thing that we would contribute is that we have so many smart people working with us that maybe we could optimize the firmware so much that we can squeeze like this little bit of extra latency out there, and then, but it's just then a numbers game, right? And making it more stable or whatever Wooting, and I don't know, it's no, only if you can push like true innovation or do something completely new and groundbreaking, even if the concept fails in the end, I do think it's something we
But
that's only one
keyboards are also endlessly interesting. Like I feel like there's also so many ways you can push it compared to what you can do with like a mouse.
Yeah.
Because like with keyboards, like now we focus a lot, of course, like on the technology and rapid trigger because that's what we work a lot on, and we haven't even covered like the sound and the switches and everything that comes there, and like the different constructions and the different materials. There's just so much to explore.
Yeah.
I feel like now we also have just a lot of fun doing it, and also feels like we're also getting better and better at it, and that's just also just feels like there's just still so much to do, like outside of like improving the Allen keyboards from a technical perspective when it comes to functionality performance. There's so much, but then just keyboards as a whole is just a very cool thing to be in.
And also mouse, I'm mentally not ready to handle Reddit mouse review people. Those people are just something else. It's that would definitely take some classes for me to get sad about that. Yeah.
Mouse is also very different because I feel like with mouse very often it's kind of more like a top down where like some big companies, they make something like, I mean, all the performance is just driven by Kickstarter and whatever they put in their sensors, right?
Yeah.
And then you have different companies putting it in different layers. But then from keyboards, it's really bottom up, right? Like obviously, like you have the whole like kind of keyboard company, and you have all, and even for like we're a bit more into that gaming keyboard segment where how many people have like done like little changes to their 60HE, like everybody did like at least a little bit of something, like a little bit of a different keycap, or like you can go so deep into it where it's like, okay, you can just change your keycap, like you can just have one little artisan keycap that you maybe got somewhere, or you go like, oh, full different case, different keycaps, different switches, blah 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 blah, and yeah, that's also just a very big difference.
I do feel there's this with the keyboards in general, not with the impact that we're able to have right now, and because keyboards are from bottom up, basically, I feel there's this unique opportunity for us to increasingly close the gap between a gaming keyboard and an enthusiast keyboard. But also on the level of, I think with the 6HE, the biggest thing was that you can find other cases on the market, right? And then customize it. And then the PCB becomes very, very important. And just this concept of how important the PCB is and in gaming, and then being able to adjust everything around it is just not very common. And we are trying to also with the 80, to open up and make sure that you can have that same experience as well. And what would be very, very cool if we can reach a state, that's kind of what I'm aiming for, is where every time we release a new model, other companies will make a case for it, because the demand for that kind of case from our target audience is just there, and it's worth it to make a case specifically for it. And it's also because we don't have a warranty sticker on the bottom of the case, right? Oh, break the sticker and your warranty is gone. No, we encourage you to also change it. The whole concept of the module is there also for that reason. So, yeah. So there's a lot to do in keyboards.
Yes, plenty
Still.
of things.
Plenty.
Okay, then we're getting a bit to the end of all. No. Do you guys have any tips for starting your own business? This can be in general, but also can be focused on the whole esports gaming, electronics specific scene.
A business is this, and something you need to understand. And it goes only into the extreme. What I mean by this is you will have highs, achievements you reach, like a Wooting 1 Kickstarter. Oh my god, people are purchased, you're so in your high and it's so fucking epic. And then a month later it's like, oh my god, there's this issue, right? And it really screws us over, and if we don't solve, we're bankrupt, right? And it really is painful. And then the next high come, right? And the next low come. And one thing that happens is the highs get higher, the lows get lower. And it's something you also need to be mentally prepared for. And now when I look back in hindsight, the problems we had 8 years ago, 7 years ago, they were just nothing compared to things we're running into now, because we're on a bigger scale. The stakes are higher, right? And the thing is, one thing with entrepreneurship, it comes and goes, right? There are just periods where everything's going smooth, everything is going good, and then something else hits that really stress you out and really sucker punches you, right? And something you have to solve. And one thing I'm very glad for is I would never be able to run a business on my own, because I know, like, if one of these lows happen, I know it's an issue for me, but I also know that Calder and Jeroen are there and other people within Wooting, right, talented people, to solve this, think about it, find a solution together to get, to the next high again, let's say. Yeah. And that's, I think, something you need to understand with a business. It will always be fantastic at some point, horrible the next point. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that for me, it's also the two aspects. Yeah. For me, the biggest thing in general is that I am not doing this alone.
Yeah.
I do not get, if I'm alone, I just lose purpose very quickly. I can yap about it all the time, But if I'm alone in it, then I just lose the motivation and purpose very quickly. So anybody that's looking to start something, I do, and it, and I would never recommend other people to do it with friends.
No.
But I think, everybody's definition of a friend is also a bit different. But it is very helpful to have a good business partner. And that can help. If you want to build something big, that's definitely the way you need to go. And if you're alone, and even with the business partners, but if you're doing this alone, what has helped me a lot over time is, for me, the whole Wooting thing has been very, very simple. It's you do it. You just keep trying to do whatever you can, because what's the alternative? Go find a job. You can always go find a job, So why not just go through it and then find out where you land, and then you can always still go back and find a job and find something stable and steady. But right now, if you have that opportunity, take the risk, find out what happens, figure it out, do your best. If it fails, it failed, but you come out of it way much better. You've learned shit within a way much shorter time, which you would have other taken years for you to realize or never realize at all. So it only means the next thing can be better. Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm starting a new keyboard myself. Bye.
I'm gonna kill you, Sander.
We'll kill you.
I mean, your business, huh?
All right.
Yeah, we kill you.
But okay, then to discourage Sander for a moment, right? It's not for everyone, okay?
Hey!
Yeah.
And if you start a keyboard company, we just kill you, whoever you are.
Nice. You know where I live, so shit.
No.
Damn it.
I think
And
one thing I've seen, at least like from some people around me that have tried, and at least like looking back at my own experience, whereas like if you try something, it's also really good to be, here we go, realistic, but more like proud of the little achievements that you get, because doing anything on your own as a business is really, really hard. So even if you can get like a single person that pays you for something that you do, be it that you provide a service or you sell something, even if you can earn like $5 or 10 or 50, that is really good, because like just having anybody that is willing to give you money for something is like such a big deal. I just cannot overstate, like if you can make something that somebody gives you money for, you're already like really, really far. And I think like there's this sort of idea that it needs to be, there's so many ideas about like how it needs to be particular ways. But I feel like that idea of just trying and to try to find like at least somebody that is willing to give you some money for it, and just keep trying and see where it goes. And then just also being aware of like this shit is just gonna take years. Like that's just how it is. Like there's no like shortcut for these kind of things. And try to at least like find some joy in it along the way as well. And if you struggle there, of course, like and then at my point you might give up. Fuck it, why not? You've at least tried. Like there's that's also fine, right?
I think that's also key, right? You need to enjoy the time, because let's be real, right? Time on Earth is limited. You have to make the best out of what it is, and you shouldn't force yourself being an entrepreneur just because you want to be an entrepreneur or start a business if you don't enjoy it, right? I think that's important.
Yeah.
That's just the main important, right? Because if it's about money, there are other ways to earn money, rob a bank or something.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to earn money, though.
No.
It's like
Go
way
into
too fucked
crime.
up for it.
Yeah.
It's like way too stressful.
Yeah.
There's this. I was just thinking about this. I have this one other situation, somebody I know, where they're like thinking about starting a business, and they get stuck in this loop of talking with other people thinking about to start a business, but it never happens. And there's kind of like this continuous wait for the golden ticket or opportunity to be there. But the biggest advice of this is just you can basically grab anything that remotely interests you and just try it out. Like what Jeroen said, like even if they give you, if you can earn $5 on something, just do it. Because it's only along that road, along that way, as you get deeper and deeper into it, that you will really, really find the thing that you should be doing. So if it was that easy to find out, like to find the thing that you should be doing, then you would have a shit ton more successful entrepreneurs out there. But what is it? 80% fails or something?
Yeah.
Could be.
I'm surprised if it's more, because it's pretty rough, of course.
Yeah. So because just making a start, you can get through all that starting things that you need to know. Very basic things like, oh, how do I register my company? Oh, I need a special bank account for blah blah blah. Right? You can get past all that shit, so that even if that fails miserably, right? The next time what took you 3 months to figure out, or 5 months to figure out, now you can do it within a week or 2. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay. So what's this wholesome goodbye waves? I can do that.
I thought
That I
we'd
can
maybe
do.
do a Q&A, but it took pretty long, the podcast. So, do we still want to do a few questions? Just a little few, if people have any. actually.
If there are interesting questions that are
Not-
business related, right?
All
Entrepreneurship
business,
related, and that we
entrepreneurship
haven't talked
related, yes.
about during the.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay.
So if anyone, we can do 3 questions, and then
So in the meantime, when the questions come in, it's maybe if you watch this live, right? Sure, in the early days it was just the 3 of us, but more people joined Wooting, working. Simon, Gavin, Mark, Sander, Jessica, and then it slowly growed over time with more people, and I do think all these people are now vital towards the operations of Wooting and contributing, putting their love and energy into the products, into the whole process, into whatever we are as Wooting, right? And everybody pitching in their own expertise. And that's why also when you only look at how, for example, what Sander does, how video looked 7 years ago versus now, that's a night and day difference with quality, right?
Oh, yeah.
Product quality, if you compare the Wooting 1 with the 8HE, it's a night and day difference. If you look at Wootility V1 versus whatever we have now, V5, right? It's a night and day difference. And that's only because we have talented people who contribute to Wooting, right? And make it better along the way. And that's, yeah.
Sometimes it even gets to a point that I just also don't really remember how we used to do it. Like I just look at like how like we manage the orders and stuff here, and like I just think like you didn't have any of this. So like how the fuck did we even manage these things?
Yeah.
For me, it's always easy to look back because I just make the videos and then look back. It's like, hey, oh yeah, this shit. Yeah. Things go quickly, even though in a short span of time, even though it's maybe like 1 or 2 years. If I look back 2 years ago where I stood and where I stand now, it's like, damn, fucking hell. Shit changed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. If you could write one piece of advice on a small piece of paper and send it back in time to your younger self, right before starting Wooting, what would the advice be?
Buy Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
You could have just done nothing, just waited.
But anything is coming to mind besides Bitcoin?
I feel like if with writing advice down on a piece of paper and sending it to your younger self is the same as basically saying, what are your biggest regrets? And then you want to tell your younger self maybe to not having to face that, let's say. And I just personally feel that I feel that, like I was saying earlier, if just start it, just try it, right? And that's always been kind of the mentality. You can't just expect to know everything when you start anyway. So I would have also not imagined to be doing this much differently. And I don't want to feel like there's always going to be this like, oh, if then this, that, right? But that doesn't really matter anymore anyway. So
I feel like with like so many things, like when it comes to really giving advice, like I feel like for me it wouldn't really make a difference because it's like you learn so many things just through experience and through doing. So I think the only thing I would kind of send to myself back then is more like words of encouragement, kind of like, hey, you're doing a good job, like that. Like not really trying to change anything by giving advice, but more like,
young Jeroen,
Just
don't
like-
worry, just don't quit Wooting.
oh boy, it's gonna become a thing now, isn't it? No. But just like a nice little word of encouragement. That's what I would do. I don't think
forget to
there's really
breathe.
that much
That's a good
advice.
one.
Don't forget to breathe. Yeah.
Yeah, because I do think, you need to feel and experience it yourself. Otherwise, you don't know how it feels to be rock bottom, and you don't know how it is to reach a certain point, right?
You learn from it, of course.
Move
Yeah.
the arrow keys.
I saw that. Sorry, I see the comment from Roecraft.
What? Roecraft?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, dear past Calder, move the arrow keys 1 centimeter to the right on the ATHE. Trust me.
Um,
I mean, that would
Oh
make
my
the
gosh.
ATG definitely launch a bit quicker.
I think maybe the ATHE is definitely like the most recent example of how you face these huge like challenges and huge like uncertainties, because and it just doesn't, it keeps happening, but it's just a different, the topic change, but you can't, it's just inevitable, and with the ATHE, it also showed, from my perspective, is that okay, it's how did we try to deal with the situation, and we just really made the best that we could make out of it, and just went forward with it, and just didn't look back and start regretting about everything. And during that time, there was a lot of like self-doubt about, oh my gosh, it was like a huge sink in confidence about, should we be making exactly the thing that's being asked for, or should we be making what we envision? It was a huge conflict, internal conflict, and I think that has lingered around for the better part of the whole year, I have to say, yeah. And I think even now it influences a bit on, should we do this layout, because then I have a layout in mind.
but it also goes a bit deeper than the arrow key shift, I think.
Which goes a bit deeper than arrow key shift, yeah.
Yeah.
But then this is where I thankfully know there are more people to kind of balance it out. But the experience now with the ATHE, it's now embedded, thinking about, okay, yeah, there is a balance between these two options, and you kind of need to build maybe up towards one thing before you do the other thing. And you need to fulfill a certain demand or a certain expectation with the state that we're in right now before you start fulfilling a completely weird new idea. Yeah.
Okay, next question. 2 more.
There weren't many business-related questions, mostly just product-related questions, which isn't really the topic for today. That's for the next live stream, probably.
All right.
So I
Then we
think
go-
we can round it up. Yeah, I think this
Wholesome
is
goodbye
going to
waves.
be it. The wholesome goodbye waves. It is.
I'm just thinking if there's one question I can come up with, which is entrepreneurial related, but there's so much to maybe we can talk for days on days, right? And
I think so.
Yeah.
yeah. Overall,
Yeah,
it's fantastic. I'm having fun. Most of the time. I do think one thing is it's definitely not for everybody. So don't force yourself to it. And I bet if you look at pictures from us 10 years ago, we would have looked probably a lot more handsomer.
More
I think you age
Yeah,
twice
more
as
hair.
fast if you're an entrepreneur. Yeah.
All right, then
Yeah.
that's it for today, everybody. Thanks for stopping by and watching the live stream. There's also going to be a cut down video of this on YouTube on the 19th of November, hopefully, if everything goes well. And yeah, everybody have a good weekend, and we'll see you in the next live stream again. Hey, bye bye, everybody.
Bye.